You know, if you have masses of stupid people in the US, or tag-alongs, or people with problems, or tag-alongs were the actual psychos. If you have careerists and people who have their own Jewish people, for instance, okay, who survived World War II and they have their little affairs, and now you have Israel with the IDF and they're worse than the Germans. In other words, a minority, okay, again, minority leading, like in Syria, okay, with Assad, who was an Alawite, a Shiite, not a Sunni, causing all the problems. In other words, let's start seeing things for what they are, okay? Not from a geopolitical point of view, which is pretty simple. You know, nobody liked the Taliban and stuff like that, and the people suffering there. Not that. Not the excessive wars in Asia, which China and the Asians never forgave the US, or the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, which the Japanese and the Asians never forgave the US, or the two wars in Iraq. The first one wasn't liked. The second one was Bush Jr., he's retard officially. And all the usual shit, not the wars, or in Africa, Black Africa and South America. Because within the USA, the amount of wars that happens on a daily basis is worse than in Russia. Why? Because in Russia, it's authoritarian. The dictators. Putin is a dictator. Okay? China is a dictator. Okay? So their people have problems, but they sort of quell shit really quickly. You understand? So it's not a question of being liberal. It's a question of the history of the US. Otherwise, you were born yesterday if you know nothing about the US. Christopher Columbus came to America and they figured out what the fuck US is. So if you have people who are, even if they're educated, okay, so there came the comparisons. That's why they were speaking about jealousy and envy colloquially. That's what they meant. Old news on the news for the colloquial Harry Potter gossip. In other words, intelligence always has an aim or a purpose. Like if it's really good at science and tech and it breaks records in space sciences, that's what it does. Okay? If it doesn't like the Mossad or banks, probably would get involved in that too. Why not? You know, it's like a little wedge. Because Intel usually does more than one project. But it's usually in a field. You know, it's like, if it's science and tech, it could cover a lot of science and tech, but it's science and tech. It could be just the computers, okay? All right. So if I go to the Italians and say, hey, engineer, reopen the buildings of Jamila, they're going to say, that girl had her head bashed in on the coastlines. That was new shit. Sorry, can't reopen. And that's the old news on the news. So that's what you buried on the coastlines that Jamila never mentioned. Because she was too busy flying and doing her shit and defending her parents. So 92 and above, which was accepted. 85, the runnings was not accepted because you could already see, you know. And then the crawlies of this mini-me after the rompicabezza. In other words, you smash my head in, but I'm not thick as shit as you. I still have a hole in the wall, which is a miracle in itself, isn't it? All right, let's not speak about Intel. So there's the Intel that changes the world for the better, and then there's the Intel that if it dies, takes from people, all right? Meaning you lose. That's a very simple concept, the J-Lo concept. But the problem with the Americans is, and this is what we saw in Fresno and Frisco, in other words, the Americans, is that you see losses that actually count on the coastlines, you get pissed off. And therefore, there has to be more damage. With the hanging bitches, Laura Quitters, and now you're of and bears. Yeah, Fresno, if you had bombed Fresno before, literally bombed that place, it wouldn't have made a difference to society around the world and in the US. That's what's famous, beyond famous. And as for the dead baby, it's known that she's dead. That her intelligence is dead on the coastlines. And how? A smashed in head and everything. So this indio, so Disney version of Mia's wife, is a leftover relic of the original girl. So when Dirk-Jan van Dam in The Hague and the Bureau Veritas said to me, my middle name Maria going round in circles, Maria Mario is void, he meant that when your intelligence died on the coastlines, there was a big void of beautiful buildings at La Sapienza and Woolwich and other countries. And because it happened in the US, So we have Massachusetts, New York, DC, Langley, and ESSA, and then NASA, and space sciences. In other words, that kind should never have come to your fucking country. 221 should have never existed according to your statistics, because you smashed ahead of the original Jamila on the coastlines, wasting intelligence and knowing ahead of time that there was going to be the mermaid, knowing that the Italians and the Brits stood by Jamila and did the mermaid with her, the Titanic on the coastlines, and the CIA with the Platinum Hairs. That's old news on the news. So why you sent the fucking psychos to the baby? A Roman tribunal. You think you're intelligent? What you getting out of this? What is the United States of America gaining from the loss of their own intel with the Platinum Hairs? Because the intel is dead. And because they knew that they were going to go mermaid. There must have been something on the coastlines. There must have been something around the world that they know about, connected those globals, that they were so fixated about the nail. So, forget about the empty buildings at La Sapienza and other countries, in the US especially, on the coastlines. That's not going to come back. Because if you had the intelligence, you had the intelligence before, but if you smashed the head of that girl in, and she was the one who had it in her head, that's her buildings that are empty, not yours. Go to La Sapienza, go to Moscow, go to Cairo, go to Woolwich, go to Martin Snowdon. Lowlands. Yes, Platinum Hairs. It's not a question of Platinum Hairs, it's a question of the intel, of what the intel did. So I am the Disney version, I'm the fairy tale version of that girl. Instead of a nightmare at the beginning of the social security number with so much pay for myself and for the parents, because I'm the trained poodle in the house, I became the fairy tale near the end of the number, 1472221, geological rebirth. So the core celeb happened because of the smashed in head on the coastlines. You have pretenses for the beautiful buildings that are empty, and you open banks. You all reopen the fucking banks. You get butt ugly shit. You are, in your head, such haters that even the religious orders turned and defended me. Because they see in you, in the US, a bunch of whores, bitches, and assholes. And they sent a Disney version of that girl to tell you that to your fucking face historically. Historically in intel, not in religion. 221. Stupid times. A plumbing time. When intelligence does that, when the intelligence communities bring back a dead baby from the coastlines that has empty buildings around the world that are beautiful, and space sciences like La Sapienza or other places around the world, that girl is not going to have any pretenses. She's not going to come back like Disney and look at this shit as a child and say, oh fuck, that's void, you did. You got negatives out of you. They're going to reopen the fucking buildings? No. Can be highly intelligent, yes. So there are crumbs of that girl, right? Peekaboos. In other words, you didn't get to kindergarten, the old show on the news, around the world. The nails. Put your nails, okay? So the hate that happened on the literal crawlies was, to them, insane. Because they see a girl who had done all that shit and more, had her head bashed in on the coastlines, empty beautiful buildings, the IO's Platinum Hairs, and the American girls coming out there with the big tits, and the nurses in Fresno who hate the father and the mother. They're looking at Fresno for the parents, not for the child. But also for the child, obviously, because the girl was flying on nights 2 and above, doing her shit elsewhere. 85, no, with that many run-ins. Hey, they could see something on the coastlines. Ooh, how? Obsession, nella chauda, gets. And that's not the parents. In Fresno, on retirement, who are more important, obviously. At the end of 85, the girl has her head bashed in, comes back like this, the Phoenician, and you're still sitting there and have pretenses. So all the PhDs in the world couldn't reopen my buildings. And when I say my, what the fuck I come back for? Ask why, in this format, to show how much you hate me still. There goes the Roman Tribunal as an addition. We have to have the Roman Tribunal. So this is it, America. It's not a question of power. It's a question of losses. That you cannot control your bitches. You can't. Now, in England, in Italy, even in Germany, there were looking at this stuff, looking and laughing at the US. They were not laughing at me. They were crying with me. At you, they were laughing. US. And you know that. You know that because you know there's something behind that number. And you know I wasn't alone. They're laughing at you. They're thinking that the Americans are retarded. So forget about stupid times, Woolwich Grange, meantime, with Snowden and all the other intel guys, flyings and runnings and professors and chancellors with platinum hairs with a girl at the age of 5 after her head was smashed in on the ghost lines. I wasn't alone. And those buildings are actually mine. That's why they fell with me. But you don't believe that. That's okay. She's female. Ta-ta. Why did they bring it back? Ta-ta-ta-ta. We can make it famous. We can make it known. We can do this. We can do this. We can show them everything. We show them a hole in the wall. We can show them the head bashed in on the ghost lines. We can do everything. We'll bring back little man, one of those angels. But I'm better. I'm better. You are fucking apes. You can clone my ass and I'll be more fucking intelligent than you. And you wonder why within the CIA there's losses. I'll tell you why there's losses. You idiotic piece of shit. Within the US grounds. Look at your psycho bitches following me. Look at your bitches. They go to college. I got a PhD. I'm so good. Okay, reopen my buildings, bitch. Why do you call them mine? Why would I be back, genius? Career, huh? Nice tenureship. Little pity you weren't the flyers. Little pity you weren't the runners. And little pity you didn't have your head bashed in on ghost lines and have those buildings empty forever and ever. 221. Ghosted child. In other words, you didn't get to fucking kindergarten at the age of 5, and that's the old news on the news for the indios around the world, the nails. You, a country that has so much riches, well, who gives a shit? Oh, yeah, who gives a shit? That's nothing. And why did they decide to go murmur with that girl ages ago? You didn't see that shit either, huh? California coastlines. Now you have the pretenses. Reopen my buildings, fucking bitch. You just reopened the banks. Sorry. Oh, the buildings are getting emptier. Maybe it was your brain brushed in. It's like looking at mass whores in the US. And I'm Disneyland. And that's my literal crawlies out of Fresno. It's not my crawlies. Because I still had a house on the crawlies. It's my literal crawlies with the ass wipe. The crawlies and the literal crawlies happen on the ass wipe. Period. And stupid times. I'm 50 years old. I'm 49, 50 years old. And after seeing the laptops on the streets for 4 years straight, between DC, London, also internationals, and I'm going to mention internationals, Moscow, Cairo, Saudi, and then Rome. They didn't have the laptops in Rome. They didn't need. On the streets with the uniforms for 4 years straight, you've lost it. On my crawlies and literal crawlies, they're showing it. It's not in the buildings. We're not doing 92, 92 and above the flyings with that shit inside the buildings. We're not doing 85, 85 the runnings with them coming out. We're doing the literal crawlies, and the literal crawlies with those guys out there. Plus there's the civilians, the masses of people, dangerous. And on top of that, we have the cats and dogs literally and the birds going around in circles in the capital cities and my crawlies and literal crawlies. You lost it. Now I know what you are, US. You speak about, I'm better on the ghost lines, which obviously not. I'm a big ass shit. What's this shit? Oh my god, 221, what you got? It's only for which I'm going to continue with her on the ghost lines. Okay. And you happy about that? Why? Why is the CIA looking at empty, beautiful buildings with platinum hats and saying, well, if that's fucking lost, we might as well do that shit? You made it happen in your own country. You only have yourselves to blame, not me. Oh, fuck, bitch. You had your head bashed in your coastlines. It's your fucking fault. You come back like Disneyland. I've never heard anything so stupid in my life, 221 ass wipe. In other words, I have to apologize for your fucking crimes. Allora, Dirk-Jan Van Damme is going like this. Hey, computer de veritas, all these on the news angels. Huh, the buildings of La Sapienza and other universities around Western Europe and stuff empty. Oh, yeah, space science. Hey, didn't she do something in biomass or something, cancer or bio? Yeah, but that was the low lines, that was the easy shit. I see her. She even had the sponsors from what? Western Europe. No shit! I see all news on the news, mademoiselles. Where's the brains? Where's the thinking? Rather than snap judgment and I hate that bitch for being alive and I hate that bitch for being dead. Matsa Dutuwan. What the fuck did I do? Swipe. Oh, fucking what? Turn around. Just for that one. Give it all the blood. You don't see it. How many buildings can one girl close when you smash her head in on her coastlines? Your coastlines. Answer. Fucking bitch ass. She connected Dutch clubhouse. Bitch ass. What the fuck is wrong with you, US? Of course there's a Scotland film to keep me, my kind, my peoples, my fucking kind of intel, my fucking shit out of here. Yes, it's empty, because it's us. We lost intel. We lost brains on the coastlines. You keep your fucking void. You want to erase 221? You did. She's Disney. Why is she back? Why did she do Connect the Dots Globals if they know what the original Jamila did? Keeping her mouth shut for you so you can have your fun when she was flyings and runnings. And the professors and vice chancellors and chancellors and other places with bad hairs by now on her crawlies and little crawlies. So you can feel that you have a fucking PhD up your ass. Shut up. Do you know what ugliness is? You are. That's why I'm being as ugly and as obnoxious as Disneyland could possibly be from the original Jamila to make you understand just that little point of the asswipe 221. That's why you hate me now. There's no other reason. That's why they were speaking about jealousy and envy colloquially in those 80 countries when I was connecting the dots globals on my crawlies and little crawlies. You didn't understand that? Well, it's your fucking problem. Seen a plumbing time crash down with the others? That's me. Plus there's a wormhole to the wall. Plus there's a smashing head. That'll help you. And I'm going to be sitting there saying, what was the original? You forgot. Western Europe didn't forget. Woolwich inner circles didn't forget. Even the Germans didn't forget. Rome and the UN didn't forget. The Russians didn't forget. And the Saudis didn't forget. That's my blood. Boom, boom. Or was my blood. Still is my blood, yes. You are here in your head, bad. And when they show it, that there's a Hague, there's the Bureau de Veritas involved, then you send in this. I don't care for your personal experiences in the military. I don't care where you act. But if you come back to me, whether you have PTSD, whether you are narcotics, whether you were... I tried Mama T like this. I said it by mistake when I was caregiving. I got in trouble for that. Okay? And I'm 50 years old after all that literal crawlings. I only have 147 to 221 left of geological rebirth for pink ass. There is something behind that girl. And they're not going to show it to you. Because you smashed the girl's head in on the coastlines. That's the Hague. And those are the empty buildings of New Space Sciences in those different universities around the world. You will think that space phenomena don't exist. They exist. In Russia, they exist. In Turk Saudi, they exist. And in China, they exist. That's my blood, motherfucker. This is Ebola. Oh, shit. Just shut up. And that's it. And yes, there's connections to Poland because of the brother, the mother, and Egypt, and then Iraq. Yes, of course. There's even Algeria. Yes. There's Tunisia. Okay. There's Lithuania. That's something else. You're not understanding how they're showing it. They made it pretty simple for all the world to see. They didn't complicate it. You complicated it because you didn't like what you were seeing. You were angry that you couldn't have what she had when she was alive. You can't have what she has when she's dead. Blah, 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 221. I don't care to say to you, the Scotland film, to stay the fuck out of this country. You keep your bitches. You know, the more idiots and the more bitches the US has, anywhere, whether it's careerists or bitches in the military or just average girls who get jealous of each other, or drug addicts or marijuana addicts or whatever, the better for us. The better even for Disneyland to show who the fuck you are. That's the Roman Tribunal. That's why they can sue you. That's why they can sue you with the Roman Tribunal. You have no interest with that girl. None. So after the Hague and the Bureau de Veritas and the Void, we add the Roman Tribunal. Because you don't know what that girl did, do you? You still think I'm Bin Laden, some chromo of him. Guess what? Those beautiful buildings are staying in your country emptier. This is my head and my new mathematics and my new space sciences and my new shit that you smashed on the coastlines. And no chancellors of any Western universities will have platinum heads with that girl, Martino, after you smash your head on the coastlines. Until you understand who you are and pay your consequences and responsibilities. Because that shit don't grow on no trees, 221. It didn't and it won't. Have a little bit of boiling water. That's what the warm milk. Have some little boiling water on the coastlines. See how it feels to cremate the brains of that girl and bring back Disneyland. How does it feel to impersonate that girl? You're cowards and bitches. And you want to know why that girl who was flying and running became the mermaid? You poo-poo. Why? Why you have 10,000 love letters? Why those guys in the press because what blood is wrong with it? Without the words, she's that bitch. That's who you are, US, for me alone. It's called celeb. Why to bring back a dead baby? Shut up. I'm gonna show you decency. I'll be decent with you. I am more than decent with you. Because I'm showing you all this shit around the world and within the US. You, on the other hand, don't even have a modicum of fucking decency, sending the psychos after me. Excuse me. Keep your fucking void. I'm dead. Literally, in that capacity, I'm dead. You were happy about it. No wonder they were saying I was worth every half penny when I was alive and worth every half penny after what the intelligence did, the void and the mermaid, even when I'm dead. Matsu. Manche sono rogue. Vai, subito. Fan rogue, sto blando. Stop. So that's the baby. That's her noise. The noisy background of the child. All right. Let's start speaking about the Barons. The Barons are born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. So, the dog. Hired as directorates, D1s, in Washington, D.C., Osro TCOR, USAID, and defended by Laura Quintus and Natalie Direct. On all the flyings of that girl, on the runnings, 85, and then the Crawleys, Dead Crawleys, Phoenix of the child, out of the coastlines. Still living in the house, a little pet in the house, the easy life. The one without a brain, the Crawleys, little brains of growing up, looking at void, connected those globals already with the white hairs, just also cats already, in itself. Yeah, Nigeria. I don't know, man. Pink ass way of saying it. You know? Disneyland. Not to offend anybody, you know. As for the hanging benches of Laura Quintus and Natalie Direct, you'd have to go and ask Natalie Direct and Laura Quintus. Why are you defending both parents so many times? To death and back of your own. Don't know. Why? America, lady of the house, that many 92 and above, many. You want that madness? I'll give you fucking madness, you piece of shit, cheap ass. Many times of the runnings of that girl. Yes. 85. What the fuck is this? The girl is at Disney. I ain't yours. Okay. No retirement. I'm the one doing the shit. On the coastlines, defending the Barons. Beyond. Above. On tops. In other words, you're big assholes. And you don't take responsibility for your actions or your inactions. I don't give a shit if you have $1 million, you're not going to reopen my buildings. If you have $1 trillion, you won't reopen my building. Starting with the Jodie Foster shit in high school. I thought high school finished between 13, 14, and 15. Didn't I graduate, shithead? Didn't I pass the IB with straight A's? I don't give a shit for my grades. I care for the exams. SpongeBob SquarePants. At 15, I was already free again. Where? College. Why the fuck did that girl come back and go to high school and college for free? Why? I don't know. There must have been a point. What'd she do? I don't know. I don't know. She's a bitch. As long as the only thing in common she has with herself is her eyebrows. Ooh, a furrow. Oh, yes. Well, what about the parents? Eyebrows are furrows. I guess there's the water creatures, which have their own way of thinking, and then there's the hanging bitches of Lark, Witches, and Lyric that many mother times. Are you retarded? Seriously, US? You gonna tell me you have a papa and a mama like mine? You don't. Look at their jobs. Osro TCY USA. 160, 180 countries for him. 140 countries for her. That's hard humanitarian relief work. Difficult. With helicopters dropping aid. That's their jobs. T1s. Born in the pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, helping planet. And what was the girl good at? Oh, the girl was good at science. It was a freak ass. Smash on her head. Yeah, there's a hole in the wall. In other words, she's not thick as shit. In other words, she had her head bashed in the coastlines and she still has a hole in the wall. It's a miracle. Miracle! No, you know what you are? Heap of shit. US. I come to the US to get a PhD. I got a career. I ain't got a shit for your ass, right? Reopen my fucking buildings. You can't? Fuck it. Eat my ass. Literally! And the shit that comes with it. Where the sun don't shine, as they say, Fresno. And as for Fresno's, sun don't shine. For the family? With the hanging benches of Lark, Witches, and Lyric that many motherfucking times. You could have been space bomb. Why didn't you space bomb them? Were you testing the space bomb all that? Or are you doing all the other shit? The hospital, the nursing homes, this, that, the cancer, the drip, blah, 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 some science, blah, 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 and more, and beyond, blah, 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 shootouts and three, I don't have a high school, and blah, 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 blah. Let me put it this way. It happened in the US, in the middle of the desert of California, in a place called Fresno. That many early times of mine, correct? For the Barretts. I used to be elsewhere. You think Fresno has some base of the CIA? Some base of Woolwich? Some base of Western European inner circles? Some base of the UN. Some base, of Russia, of Saudis, no. Some base of the CIA, DC, Georgetown, New York, New England, my Texas. Fresno? Are you out of your goddamn mind, retards? Lying your ass off to the whole rest of the world and trying to make me go crazy? Stick in the Roman tribunal. Disneyland has had enough of your ass. There's a Scotland film for the dead baby, me. Because we're comparing myself to my original. And stop comparing yourself to me. But you don't have no fucking crumbs after that. You don't even have me. You have the voided buildings of new space sciences. And other tech. And I didn't do computer science either. And when I say I, why would I come back to say that? To try and explain the extreme basics to people in Fresno and Frisco offends them. Shown by your psychos at Dolores Street, for instance. It's not a question of being antisocial. It's just a question of staying out of this country. You can keep all your bitches and your assholes and your voided buildings of ours because we lost our intelligence on the coastlines. Scientific geniuses, my ass. And that's all news on the news. Okay? Because you ain't gonna reopen that shit. You're not even reopening the shit in Poland and Kangaroo. Algeria. Why? Because we're not here to prove who's better. We're not here to run for Miss America or any miss around the world. You had that intel, you smashed her head in, the guys went down with her. Those are her buildings. Mine. That's why they're void. And you will not get them back. Not in Massachusetts, not in New York, not in DC, not in ESSA, not in NASA, and not anywhere. And if you want to stick in some cheap-ass cancer and biomeds in the lowlands, you're welcome. There were those corporations in Western Europe too. Jamila was good in space science. She's dead. You smashed her head in on the coastlines. You are the terrorists, and I'm not afraid of you because I'm the Disney version of that girl. And I never said it to your face in the US. You know why? Because you hate. You hated me. You hated Jamila to the point of smashing her head in and her teeth on the coastlines of California. The reason 221 is called celebre around the world, globals by now, connected dots, is because of how ugly you are, US. And what you lost and your pretenses for your own CIA, having to plan with her because there were losses, big ones. And they knew that the British inner circles and the Italians would side with Jamila. You're ugly. They can bring me back like this. It won't make a difference. You want a career? You want to be the best in the US? You're not. You're not the best. You know that. Excuse me. Once again, that's not the hanging benches of Lara Quintas and Natalie Direct that many motherfucking times. It's not. And as I was saying, they come from the pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. I was born in Rome, like Lara Quintas and Natalie Direct. And you see, at the beginning of the social, it was very painful because I don't think about it, Later on, they tried to, like that. Why? Yeah, there was a reason for that in itself. But what they were looking at, even if I was already, officially, as for the crumbs, I don't know how the crumbs worked. You see, I'm the face of what happened. Like the Greta Thunberg of what happened. Okay? Even with those boys, we're going to call them boys because they're not really boys. But they were crumbs. Because the way the original girl had her intelligence killed on the coastline, the way you smashed my head in and my teeth, 2-1, candle in the wind, even if they have negatives out of that girl, somewhere else, they're just killers. They can be highly intelligent killers, the most intelligent, but they're killers. They're no longer the beautiful flyers breaking space. They're not longer the intel that closes beautiful buildings in new space sciences, a La Sapienza, for instance. You smash in the head of that child, what'd you get? Highly intelligent. Think of Andrew Dixon Smith there at ESSA from Britain. 4 years or 5 years neighbors downstairs in Rome. They have different names. They have different faces. Let's not start. There's too many of them. Too many. Smith, Joe, Shakespeare, these guys, you see, they can be highly intelligent. They can work in ESSA. They can be all right. But they will not be the original Jamila. That when you smashed her head in, those special buildings with the new sciences at La Sapienza and Woolwich and other places are empty in ESSA and NASA. That's empty. That's empty. That's void. Understand? Including that cheap shit of guts. Yes, that's all news on the news. That's why they made such a big cause celebre about 2-1. And because you didn't see it. You didn't see the flyings. You didn't see the runnings. Rest of the world saw them. They saw them. All those. The flyings and the runnings. But you didn't in the US. Because I'm better. I'm better. So you don't realize what ugly is. They can bring back a baby. They can bring back somebody who had her head bashed in on the coastlines, just like that, with the eyebrows of the original girl, and that's it. I said, you please, let's stay and roll for retirements. This is Scotland film. Start using your head and not your assholes and your bitches and your whores and the whole shit. I have a fun go nuts. That many times. For Fresno, it's something else, right? No, you don't see it. You don't see it. Why do you think the Italians and the Brits in inner circle sided with that girl? Why do you think they had planned hairs with that girl? With the empty buildings of hers. Did they say, I agree with you, we're going down? Why? Because they see losses when you smash the head in on Intel. They see something wrong in the US. They see something for you. This is a specific. This is a detail. It's not a detail. Okay? It's worse than a detail. As for the hanging benches of Lara Quintas and Lara Direct for the barons who were born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, many flyings, there are many runnings, and there are many crawlies and many literal crawlies. There are retirements at Fresno, and you have to look at their jobs. The SUR, USAID, Ostro, it started out as Ostro. TSUR came later. But when he was working there, they had a very good record. Later, they didn't. Doesn't matter how much they lie about that one. It doesn't matter. What matters is what the UN says. What matters is what the Italians say about the father and the mother. What happens is what the world is saying, not some one individual. Okay, after retirement. So we're not going to be bitching about that because it's pointless. We're going to talk about something else. We're going to speak about staying in Rome for retirements with the Scotland film and getting your fixation that you're the best on the planet, which you're not, out of your ass, literally, because I can't. I already had my head bashed in. I have no pretenses for that. And if they decided to continue without me, well, what the fuck? You saw it and you didn't care. To me, that's weird in itself. But, you know, that's the US. Don't give a shit about nothing. Then they wonder why I went to high school with the president's kids who have cancer, holes in their heads, and this and this and this. You did! Remember? You did this to us. I didn't. Those buildings are empty. That girl was capable of all those beautiful things. You smashed her head in. I come out like this and you give me the fault for your fucking diseases. You're mentally retarded. Get out of high school, fucking asshole. I got out of 15 for free. Shut the fuck up. In other words, when it comes to the point of desperation where you've already drawn the line on the coastline, you've drawn it. You've drawn it. In Italy, you've drawn it. In Woolwich, you've drawn it. All of the world's global, and that's all news on the news for the Indios. And you're saying, please, please stay in Rome for retirements. Please quit this shit. And you're still sitting there and saying, "Hey, shut the fucking psychos, bitch ass, and cooler names." And that's on the literal rules. And much like I didn't have other shit on my mind on the coastlines, let alone the hanging bench of Lara Quintas and Lara Direct. Forget it. In other words, they gave you what they could. They gave you the basics. They told you what the girl did. They told you what was lost when the girl died. They told you why those guys did what they did in her place when she was connecting the Los Globals. They told you about Fresno, the retirements of the barons, the retirements as directorates, D1s, D2s, D1s of humanitarian leave services, Ostro most of the time, later TSUR, then USAID in 160, 180 countries, 140 countries. The way you played it wasn't the play. We played you. Because, have you ever seen Death Becomes Her? I couldn't watch it once. I can't watch comedies. È una tragedia, guarda. Because I do Bigelow and the Polish girl, all that. Yes, I can look at horror and terror, but I can't look at freaking comedies. Oh my. Debate. In other words, I didn't have time before. Because I was either flying or running. It's not what this is. I mean, have at least a modicum of understanding why there was a coastal level about the little baby. Because they saw the shit. So, then they got used to it. It's like, but she's innocent. But this, but she's not really innocent. But she's also, but there's something in there. You know? You could say it's an alleyway. But it's not. It's not an alleyway. Ubermensch are not alleyways. The alleyway happened because her head was smashed on the ghost lines. That's the alley. In fact, it's not an alley, it's a non-existent street. To put it mildly. Especially if you're bashing somebody's head and she comes back like Disney. They said there was something there, and there is. Other than the mermaid and the bottom heads of those very powerful inner circles in Western Europe saying, our national treasure on the coastlines, it was done before. Angels and all. And so they brought me back. In some shape or form, they could have made blues. Now, if that girls' buildings are the beautiful buildings and not banks that will reopen your cheap ass banks, Mossad, then yes, they could have made negatives out of Jamila. The Novos and the Novas at the age of 5 in elementary primary schools, the genetic freak schools of the UN. And if you think we're freaks in those schools, I've heard that. But we're not reopening any of our buildings. And as for Vanessa and Kirkland, they didn't have those buildings. They're just regular ubinas. That's what happens when you have that kind of intel. If you make an Uber out of somebody, you can. Many even. Bacterias, they could call them. But it depends. Like, did that person live swaths of La Sapienza and other buildings that are beautiful, and the circles going down, the ship, the whole shit the plum has, of beautiful buildings, empty, when she had her head bashed in on the coastlines? No, I know that. Why you make a fucking Uber out of that one? No way, sorry. On the coastlines is for Hashrams of the world. Okay, that's all news on the news. Go change that. So why do you think beautiful American girls and boys, after you've gone to college and you've shown me your muscle and how intelligent you are, what geniuses you are, the most beautiful, most intelligent on the planet, why do you think those guys had such a fucking nail for Jamila that if that girl has her head bashed in on the coastlines, we're going down with her to chill out? Yeah. You see, there's beauty and there's beauty. Sometimes there's beauty even just saying the reality for what it is. The truth becoming a fat ass reality. Shithead. They come up to me and say, look at her eyebrows. Look at her nails. Oh, that's nice. What about the eyebrows? That's about it. Only the eyebrows. In other words, instead of being pompous retards and haters, you're going to be paying for this shit. And the reason you're paying for this shit, not only the nails. No. The losses of the answer. And not some college degree. In other words, you killed the wrong bitch on the coastlines forever, so that was me. As for the coast, and that is a coastline. Oh yeah, but it was all over the world. As for the parents, and the cost of that, that's not even a cost. Yeah. That's my cost. It's not a coastline. It's a different cost, if you can call it a cost. It's not a cost, no. The hanging benches of Lara Quintus and Natalie Direct. Now we're going into payment mode, aren't we? Like North Beach is something pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. Saudi, Egypt, that blood. So let's say they're born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, which they are. So they are, not which, they. And you get it. So now you start seeing, you see who Fresno is for the parents, their intelligence. That's why they say space bomb. Even the ones with the brains in the US, the hanging benches of Lara Quintus and Natalie Direct. That's why we call them hanging. That's why we have the Scotland film and a dead baby to boot. And as long as the United States of America cannot hear that about themselves, you will lose intel. And as long as you have stupid bitches, jealous assholes, people who don't know how to control their feelings within the US, the intelligence communities, whether they are European or British, Woolwich in the circles, Italian, Russian, Saudi, Arab, Turk, name it, Asian, Chinese, African, South American, they will look at the US, not even from Canada, but look at the US like you're mentally retarded people. And they will use it against you on purpose. That's how they behave. The ones that change the world when they die with the beautiful empty buildings, of those is me. And I'm dead. I had my head bashed in. So when those guys went mermaid with her, you got jealous. You got envious. You can't handle it. You cannot even handle The Hague and the Bureau de Veritas of Dirk-Jan van Dam for me. All news, all the news. And you have pretenses. That's why you have your psychos and your bitches and your whores following me. And we have the Roman Tribunal as an extra for me alone. That's why 221. The reason they sent me back here was to show what a shit you are. And make you pay even more with the Roman Tribunal. The void you could see coming. The beautiful shit empty you could see coming. The plum hairs you could see coming. The fall down you could see coming. The mermaid you could see coming. You saw it all. You didn't care. But it's all news on you, bitch. Now I can't get the fucking Disney. I hate your fucking Disney. This is what they showed about the Americans. And we are going to make you pay for that. Now we're fucking making you pay for that shit. You know why? Because we've had enough of your fucking PhDs and I'm better than you. You have fucking no clue what you fucking lost on the coastlines. And quite frankly, I don't care to explain it to you. Because you're so fucking jealous. You can't even listen to a clone of that girl whose only similarity is her eyebrows. You want me to lick your ass? You want me to say you're the most beautiful? I will. I'm Disneyland. I'll give you what you want, ladies in America. I'll make you feel special. I don't care. But I'm going to tell you who the fuck you are one day. To your face. On Facebook. And I'm going to do it when I'm in Disney mode. After my head was bashed in on the glow size 221. Okay? I'll do it on the news videos. Everyone has their own experiences. Everyone has their own experience. Even Grabsky, he was a psychopath, like the Ukrainian here. Identical. He's not even Polish. He's Polish-Ukrainian. That was the stalker. The Germans beat the shit out of him. The British shot at him. The other ones, everything. Did everything. Why? You already have problems with Paul Exit in Article 7 in Romania. Those small countries. Why are you comparing the intelligence that had its head bashed in on the coastlines with beautiful buildings around the world that are empty, not banks that you reopen, with your fucking intel? I'm dead. I don't have no pretenses. I'm dead forever and ever. You smash my head in on the coastlines. Do you have any fucking brains, America? Or is this just hate to hate? Because the Roman Tribunal has one hell of a... You can bring in all the religious orders for the girl. It won't make a difference. Opus Dei included. They don't care. They think you are sick hoes. That's just continuing out. The Italians had a fixation with the kind of intelligence of Jamila when she was born in the Vatican. And stupid times in Italy. That's a phenomenon. That was Jamila. The original. Have fun with Disney. Because that's what you are. And keep your voided beautiful buildings. We're not reopening nothing of Jamila. And if we can prove a point to the US, Martin Snowden and the others with the sciences, we will. After the Rompigabessa smashing head, and the beautiful buildings empty at La Sapienza and other countries, we are, US especially, because that's where you smashed your head in. Yes, we're sticking to that girl. And we're bringing her back after you smashed her head in on the coastlines, just to show that what the plan has. CIA included. Move your bitches out the way, and whores. And their boyfriends. Out! You don't need Disney to tell you this shit on Connected Dots Globals, Fresno Frisco. On her literal crawlies. And we'll stick in the Roman Tribunal for fair measure so you can know the taste of loss. Because shoot your ass, nobody's going to complain. Shoot my ass in Disneyland, they'll make even a bigger fuss. We're going to be like, what the fuck? Alright, losses an ass. You can't even bring a Disney version of that girl? Yeah, but there's blues behind her. Yeah? How'd that happen? How'd that happen? Hole in the wall? Not thick as shit like you? After you smashed your head on the coastlines? How did that happen? Those beautiful buildings are empty. How'd that happen? 221. 221.
Tutuan. News, video, news and news. What? Why did I send us a love letter to her? What she done? What? This is the Americans. This is Fresno Frisco. For the dead baby alone. Madonna mia. And you wonder why this became famous and known around the world? Continue with the blood in my husband. And you talk to me about the hanging benches of Lara Quintus and Nandy Direct, the many motherfucking flies, the many motherfucking rice. What's this Crowley's of blood? So now you see why there are such reactions on those laptops, the cement trucks, the casa dogs, But now, on my Crowleys and electro Crowleys, you lose. And you will lose with those. And you don't have to have cash. That shit can't reopen that shit. It don't reopen that shit. I'm sure you can have PhD, you can do this, sure. But that shit, no. That new shit, no. The hanging benches of Lara Quintus and Nandy Direct as directorates, jobs of humanitarian relief services of the father and mother born and pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, that's something else. Fresno is something else. Fresno is where they retired. In the middle of the desert of California. Therefore, if the US gets blamed for all this shit, I'm not surprised. Mademoiselle Tituchus, nursing homes, hospital, the girlfriends, the boyfriends, the doctors, even for me, my goodness. The shootouts, this, that baby, blah, 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 blah. You don't care in the US because you didn't see the flyings around the world and within the US, 92, 92 and above. And you didn't see the runnings, 85, 85, that many times around the world and within the US, did you? And you obviously didn't see the dead Crowleys, the baby little Crowleys, because you don't give a shit. You're the best. Now tell me why the cats and dogs and birds around the capital cities are going around in circles with me ever since I had the rope pick up. Goodbye. You're a retard. You're just haters. Goodbye. Scotland film.